Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and I'm here with another one of these writing-themed videos. Now this one is partly inspired by something I've seen popping up quite a bit as people have been reviewing my novel Operation Red Dragon. See, I've gotten a couple of reviews as of late that have mentioned how the book seems kinda similar to recent giant monster movies. In particular, the MonsterVerse films like Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island. There have been comparisons drawn, some of which seem to indicate that it feels like I am imitating those movies in my novel. Now, I'm going to make it very clear that there is a similarity. I will not deny that. There are similarities between my book and the MonsterVerse films. However, it's not for the reason you might think. It's not because I'm stealing from them, and no, I'm not about to say they stole from me. It's because of something far more irritating. They just beat me to the punch. This is something that happens to everyone in the entertainment field at some point. You have this idea, and not only is it an idea that really appeals to you, you look into things and realize it hasn't been done before. This is a new idea, or it's a new spin on an old idea that no one else has done yet. So, hey, you've got a new, fresh, unique idea. So you start working on it, and you take all this time to develop it, and you're so near to completing it and getting ready to send it out into the world, but before you can, somebody else takes that exact same idea, gets it out first, and it gets all the attention, and now it looks like your work is copying their work when yours finally gets out there. Or a variation on that theme that's even more frustrating, yours gets out first but barely gets any attention until someone else does the exact same thing and it gets all the attention. So now people looking for other examples of it are going to find your work and think you've copied that work even though you got it out first. I guarantee you, it happens to every creative type at some point. And if you're sitting there listening to me and thinking, well, I'm a creative type and I haven't had that problem yet, just give it time. It will. Trust me. That's essentially what happened with Operation Red Dragon. The first kernel of what that story would eventually become was planted way back in 1999. That's when I first had the initial concept, and it's been developing in various stages over the years, but something that always remained core to it was stuff like having the secret organizations that track these giant monsters, or how the giant monsters are portrayed as these incredible demigod-like beings. That was always there from the beginning. And I've been developing this story over time, trying to figure out just the right way to put it all together, and as I was finally getting into a rhythm of, okay, I think I've finally got it now, and I'm putting the story together, Godzilla 2014 comes out, and when I went to see it, after I got over my initial amazement at how good it was, my immediate thought after that was, dang it. Because they had similar ideas. They didn't steal them from me. There's no way they could have possibly known. They just had the same idea by coincidence and got to it first. It's not the only time that's happened to me, by the way. I remember several years ago, I told a friend of mine that I had a great idea for a different kind of found footage movie, because I was looking through a list of what all these different found footage movies were about. There were a bunch about ghosts, there were a bunch about aliens, or a bunch about creatures in the woods, or psycho killers, a couple giant monster ones, but no one had done a time travel one. And I thought, hey, this is a great idea. You can really mess around with the format in that regard. Not even a week later, that one found footage time travel movie that Michael Bay produced is announced. And after I finished lining my hats with tinfoil to prevent Michael Bay from ever reading my thoughts again, I basically realized that my unique idea would no longer seem unique if I went forward with it. And there will be another issue soon, because the next novel I'm working on that I hope to get published is more of a classic horror novel of sorts, dealing with classic monsters like vampires, werewolves, those kind of human-sized ones. And one of the characters in it is a mummy, who is also female. Kind of like in that 2017 reboot that was supposed to start the Dark Universe for Universal. Again, this is a character I'd come up with years ago when I was in high school, and this movie, just by pure chance, got out there first. Of course, my one consolation is that unlike the 2014 Godzilla, which has quite a few people who like it, nobody likes the 2017 Mummy, so any comparisons drawn between my book and that movie hopefully can only consist of, this is the way you do it right when it comes to my book. But still, that's gonna be there, and people are going to be looking at that and say, I'm copying them if they don't have the context I'm presenting in this video. It always happens. That's just unavoidable. So you may be wondering at this point, why am I making this video? Am I going to give some advice on how to avoid it? Well, no, because there is no way to avoid it. There's no possible way you can ever predict that someone is going to have the exact same idea as you and also have the resources to get it out there before you get your work out there. It's gonna happen at some point, or maybe you'll be on the other side of that, where you are the one who gets it out first and someone will be frustrated with you. So, I'm making this video not really to say how to avoid it, or even to say that I'm just venting about it. I'm making this video to let people know that when it happens, you really shouldn't let it stop you. It's kind of like what I said about plot holes when I first started this series. Sure, it's unavoidable, but that's no excuse, really. As it says in the good book, there is nothing new under the sun. Your ideas are always going to wind up being compared to something, regardless of when you have them, or what inspires them, or anything. The best you can do is make it as original as you can. Now again, there are some people who say that Operation Red Dragon didn't quite reach that particular level. My only defense is that it's only the beginning of what is meant to be a much larger story, assuming the sequels ever get out there. So it will develop further in that regard, but, well, for the first story, what's done is done. All I can say is that I'm not going to let it stop me from moving forward with this story. And if you ever find yourself in a similar predicament, you shouldn't let it stop you either. All you can do is, well, all you can do. Make the story as original as you can and let your work speak for itself. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.